He thought his silence was strength. He believed that by carrying the weight without complaint, he was protecting her. He believed that by not burdening her with his fears, his doubts, his slow erosion, he was being noble. He believed that by enduring it all quietly, stoically, invisibly, he was being the man she needed. But what he never understood is that silence without truth is not strength. It's starvation. It's the slow death of intimacy dressed in masculine pride. And so he endured. When he was hurting, he said nothing. When he was unsure, he smiled. When he felt lost, he became more useful. And every day, he built a fortress around his pain, convinced that if he just held on long enough, if he just stayed reliable, if he just kept showing up, she would feel safe. But the silence that was meant to make her feel protected became the very wall that pushed her away, because she never left the man who failed her. She left the man who hid from her. She left because he became a ghost inside his own life, because she could feel his absence. Even when he sat right beside her, she could feel the words he never said piling up behind his eyes. She could feel the part of him that no longer trusted her with his truth. And you can only reach for someone for so long, before your hands go numb, before your heart goes tired, before your soul realizes it's not rejection that hurts the most, it's invisibility. He thought he was protecting her. But what she wanted wasn't protection. It was presence. She didn't need a man who could endure everything in silence. She needed a man who could share the weight, who could sit with her, raw and unguarded, who could bleed in front of her without shame, who could let her in. Because love isn't forged in invincibility. It's forged in vulnerability. But somewhere along the way, he was taught that being a man meant being a vault. That feeling was weakness. That speaking was surrender. That being vulnerable meant being less of a man. So he armored up. He built his emotional discipline like a fortress. He turned pain into productivity, doubt into overfunctioning, fear into silent resilience. And she watched as he slowly disappeared behind that mask of masculine nobility, until one day there was nothing left to reach for. Only routines, only roles, only a man who said, "I'm fine," with eyes that said, "Help me." But she couldn't help him because he never let her in. And that's why she left. Not because he failed, not because he wasn't enough, but because he never gave her the real him. And without that, without the raw, unfiltered truth of who he was beyond the performance, there was nothing left to hold. He endured in silence. And that silence, it cost him everything. Because silence, when it's not sacred, becomes a slow surrender to invisibility. She didn't want his perfection. She didn't need a statue of strength that never wavered. She wanted his presence, his chaos, his ache, his questions, not as weakness, but as intimacy. Because she never asked for a superhero. She asked for a man who was brave enough to be seen in his fullness, a man who didn't need to bleed on the world, but who could bleed with her. And when that man disappeared into the rituals of silent suffering, when he buried himself beneath the weight of unspoken truths, she began to grieve a man who hadn't even left yet. Because when the heart of a man is locked behind walls of endurance, the woman beside him becomes a stranger. She starts to question her own worth, starts wondering why he won't let her in, starts doubting whether she's truly safe in his world or merely occupying space in it. And he wonders why she grows distant, why her laughter softens, why her touch becomes mechanical, why the space between them feels like a canyon that words can't cross anymore. He wonders, but he still says nothing, because that's what he was taught. Real men carry their pain in silence. But what no one taught him was that silence over time, becomes a betrayal, not just of her, but of himself. He didn't just lose her, he lost the parts of himself he never gave voice to. He lost the chance to be truly known, to be seen in the kind of way that doesn't weaken you, but witnesses you. And when a man isn't witnessed in his truth, he becomes a shadow, a provider, a protector, a performer, everything except alive. She would have held his hand through the storm. She would have fought beside him, cried with him, built with him, if only he'd let her see the war. But he fought it alone. And in that choice, to protect her from his darkness, he robbed her of the chance to love him in it. Because love is not made in the light. It's proven in the shadows. And she left, not because she didn't love him, but because he never let her love all of him. And maybe now, long after she's gone, he finally understands that it wasn't the arguments that broke them. It wasn't the silence after the shouting. It was the silence that came before it. The silence that never spoke up, never asked for help, never said, I'm scared too. The silence that wore a smile when his soul was sinking. The silence that said, I'm fine, while everything inside was unraveling, because there is a cost to wearing the mask too long. At first, it protects you. Then, it isolates you. Then, it replaces you, until even you forget what your own voice sounds like in a moment of truth. And when that happens, when your woman no longer sees your heart because you've hidden it so long, she stops fighting for something that no longer shows up. And it's easy to call her disloyal, easy to say she changed, easy to blame her for walking away. But she didn't walk away from the man she loved. She walked away from the man who stopped being him. The man who chose endurance over expression, numbness over truth, control over connection. And maybe, just maybe, he looks back and realizes she never needed him to fix everything. She just needed to see him, to feel him, to be let into the storm, not shielded from it, to be trusted enough to carry it together. Because what broke her heart was not the weight of the world. It was the weight of loving someone who would not let her in. And now, in the stillness of what could have been, he sits with the truth that enduring in silence isn't heroic. It's hiding. That suffering alone isn't noble. It's unnecessary. That protecting her from his pain was not strength. It was fear. Fear of being seen. Fear of being less than perfect. Fear of being loved as a whole man, not just a useful one. But love, real love, never asked him to be perfect. It asked him to be present. And that, more than anything, is what she needed. Not his silence, not his protection, but his truth. The raw, unedited truth that would have cracked his voice, maybe even brought him to his knees, but would have opened the door to connection, to understanding, to the kind of intimacy that only exists when two souls agree to stop pretending. But he waited too long. He kept the mask on through the pain, through the doubt, through the moments when her eyes silently pleaded, let me in. And by the time he was ready to speak, she was already gone. Not because she wanted to leave, but because she no longer believed he would ever arrive. He had become a man so committed to being strong that he forgot what real strength is. Not endurance, revelation, not control, transparency, not silent suffering, but the courage to bleed where love can reach it. She would have held his scars like scripture. She would have kissed the darkness he was ashamed of. But he gave her a wall when she asked for a window. He gave her a performance when she begged for presence. And now he carries the echo of what he never said, the late night ache of unspoken words, the quiet guilt of withheld truth, the heavy realization that In trying to keep her from his pain, he kept her from his heart. And that's why she lived. Not because he wasn't enough, but because he never let her see the enoughness he buried beneath silence. So to every man still holding it all in, hear this. Your silence will not save you. Your performance will not keep her. Your endurance will not earn you intimacy. She doesn't want your perfection. She wants you, all of you, the strong, the scared, the uncertain. She wants your unpolished truth, because the man who dares to be centrally seen is the man she can finally trust. And trust, that is what holds love together when everything else falls apart. So speak, bleed, fall, if you must, but let her in before she learns to live without the sound of your voice, before she forgets the weight of your truth, before your silence becomes the reason she no longer waits at the door. Because one day, when the silence becomes louder than your love, you will understand. Enduring alone is not strength. Enduring alone is how you lose everything you were trying to protect. And when that day comes, when the silence is all that's left, it won't feel noble. It won't feel masculine. It will feel empty. A stillness that no longer holds peace, only echoes. Echoes of, what if I had spoken? Echoes of, what if I had let her see me before I disappeared? Echoes of love that never touched skin, never reached soul, because it was locked behind pride dressed as protection. And you'll walk through your memories like old rooms in a house that no longer belongs to you. Rooms where she waited. Rooms where she reached. Rooms where she wept. Not because you were weak, but because you wouldn't let her feel it with you. You thought you were sparing her the burden. But in truth, you robbed her of the one thing she truly wanted. A connection forged in rawness. Not the polished version of you. Not the provider. Not the protector. But the man unmasked, unguarded, unhidden. That is the man she wanted to trust. That is the man she longed to follow. That is the man she could have built something eternal with. And the tragedy? He was always there. He just never let himself be seen. So now, if there's anything left to hold on to, let it be this. Your silence is not your safety. It is your sacrifice. And the more you sacrifice your truth on the altar of appearing strong, the more you sacrifice the very love your heart aches for. You don't protect her by disappearing. You protect her by being present, by letting her hold you when you fall, by letting her feel your truth, even when it's messy, by trusting that her love is not so fragile it breaks at the sight of your wounds. She does not want your armor. She wants your aliveness. So drop the act. Speak the words. Tear down the damn wall. And if it's too late for her to return, then let this be the lesson you carry like a torch for the rest of your life. You did not lose her because you were broken. You lost her because you refused to be seen. And love can only hold what it is brave enough to witness. So be seen, be heard, be felt, before your silence becomes the only thing she remembers. Because nothing haunts a man more than the love he buried with his silence. Not because it died, but because he starved it. Starved it of honesty, of presence, of the simple sacred courage to say, I'm not okay, and I need you to see that. Not to fix it, not to rescue him, but to meet him in that place, that raw place, that human place, that place where real connection lives not in perfection, but in shared presence. Because the moment you start filtering your truth, the moment you start editing your emotions for her comfort, you're not protecting her. You're distancing her. And she feels it. She might not be able to name it, but she feels the shift. The subtle recoil in your touch, The way your eyes avoid hers in moments that used to be sacred. The way your body is present, but your spirit is somewhere else entirely. She feels the weight of everything you won't say. She carries it without asking. She grows tired without knowing why. And eventually, she stops asking. She stops reaching. She stops hoping. Because how long can a woman chase a ghost? How long can she water a garden that never lets her see what's dying beneath the soil? You may still be there every day, every dinner, every conversation. But if your truth isn't there with you, she's already alone. And no woman stays where she has to fight for intimacy that should be freely given. So if you've been quiet for too long, if you've been holding it in, smiling through it, enduring like it's a badge of honor, ask yourself, what am I protecting? And at what cost? Because every unspoken truth is a brick in the wall between you. And eventually, love suffocates behind that wall, not with a scream, but with a whisper, the whisper of a woman who once felt close, now feeling like a stranger in her own home. Don't let it get to that point. Don't let your silence write the ending you never wanted. Let her in, let you in. Because no man is truly strong until he's strong enough to be seen. Seen not as an image, but as a man. Flawed, feeling alive, not armored in stoicism, but anchored in truth. And if you think silence is what keeps her close, remember this. What she craves isn't a fortress. It's a fire. Not the fire of rage. Not the fire of chaos. But the steady, honest, human fire that says, I feel this. I'm afraid sometimes. I carry weight too heavy to name, but I want you beside me as I carry it. That fire is not weakness. It's the beginning of real intimacy. Because intimacy doesn't come from being strong all the time. It comes from trusting someone with your storm. From saying, I've built the walls. I've kept you out, but not anymore. From tearing down everything you built to hide so that love has somewhere to land. Because love doesn't grow in silence. It grows in the sound of your truth, in your trembling honesty, in the moment you drop the act, drop the armor, drop the idea that you have to carry it all alone, and finally speak. That's when she feels you. That's when the connection comes alive again. That's when she softens. That's when she stays. Not because you're perfect, but because you finally gave her the one thing she was waiting for all along, access to your heart. So if there's anything left in you, any ember, any whisper, any trace of what used to be real, let it speak before the silence becomes permanent, before your endurance becomes your exile, before your silence becomes the reason she forgets what your love ever sounded like. Speak, feel, break if you must, but let her see the man behind the mask. Let her feel the soul behind the silence. Because that man, the one brave enough to be seen, is the only one she was ever truly waiting for. And if you do that, if you strip yourself bare of the pretense, the posturing, the silent self-punishment, you'll feel something you may not have felt in years. Relief, not because the pain vanishes, but because you're no longer carrying it alone. Because now, someone sees it. Now, someone feels it with you. Now, someone can finally love you not for your mess, but for your mess. And that's the kind of love that endures, not the love that requires you to shrink, not the love that demands you remain stoic and silent, not the love that only survives when everything is fine, but the kind that wraps around your soul even when you're broken, the kind that holds space for all of you. That kind of love can only exist if you show up as all of you. And yes, there's risk. Yes, there's vulnerability. Yes, it might scare her. It might even scare you. But that risk is the price of real connection. Without it, all you have is performance. And Performance will keep her entertained for a while, until one day she wakes up and realizes she's in love with her role. Not a man, a mask, a ghost. So if she's still there, if she's still reaching, still asking, still holding space, do not waste it. Do not wait until her silence matches yours. Do not wait until her patience becomes resignation. Do not wait until her love turns into grief. Because when she finally walks away, it won't be because she stopped loving you. It will be because she finally accepted that you would never let her love the real you. And that's a pain no woman should have to carry. So speak now. Break now. Let go now. Let it all fall apart if it must. Because maybe what you built in silence was never your life. It was your prison. And the only way to escape it is to be seen fully, finally, unapologetically. Because when the silence is gone and your truth stands bare in the light, that's when love begins again. Not the old love, built on roles and assumptions, but the kind of love that heals, that deepens, that lasts. And all it takes is the courage to let her see you before it's too late. Because if you wait until she's gone, until her footsteps have faded, until her scent no longer lingers in your bed, until the air in the room is heavy with the kind of emptiness that doesn't echo back, then you'll understand silence was never strength. It was a slow goodbye, a daily erosion of intimacy, so quiet, so gradual that you didn't even hear it leaving, until it was gone, until the laughter died, until the touch felt foreign, until her eyes stopped searching for yours, and you were left holding not her, but the version of her that once tried to reach you through the wall. But make no mistake, she didn't want to leave. She stayed longer than she should have, hoping, waiting, praying you'd finally say what only you could say. Here I am, all of me, not the strong one, not the silent one, the real one. But you never said it. You wore your pain like armor and called it maturity. You mistook suppression for peace, control for presence, endurance for connection. And in the process, you lost the most sacred thing a man can be given, a woman's trust in your truth. That trust is not built on how much you carry. It's built on how honestly you carry it. It's built when she sees your hands shake and you don't hide them. When your voice cracks and you let it. When your soul breaks open, not for the world, but for her. That's what makes her stay. Not perfection, permission. Permission to meet you in your humanness. To walk with you in the dark without being shut out. To hold you not just as a provider, not just as a protector, but as a partner. You thought silence made you safe, but all it did was make you unreachable. And now you know. There's no strength in silence if it costs you the one thing you were trying to keep, love. Real, untamed, soul-shaking love. So if you're reading this and she's still there, speak. Not with poetry, not with promises, just with presence. Because you don't need the perfect words. You only need the courage to be seen. Before the silence finishes what your fear began. Before the woman who was willing to love all of you learns how to live without any of you. And then, one day, he sat there, no more laughter, no more warmth, no more eyes looking into his soul as if to say, I see you, all of you, only silence. The same silence he once chose. Silence when she needed his voice. Silence when she reached with open hands, hoping for his truth. Silence when her heart whispered, are you still in there? He was there, but only in body. A shadow of a man who believed suffering alone was love. That holding it all in was protection. But that silence, it killed the one thing she needed most, his truth. Now he understands. Now it's too late, because what made her leave wasn't his weakness. It was his refusal to let her see it. She didn't need a monument. She needed a man who could collapse in her arms and still be whole. So if she's still there, if there's still a chance, even a flicker, speak. If she's still holding on, even by a thread, don't let silence be the last thing she remembers you by. Let her see the man. Not the perfect one, not the unbreakable one, but the real one. Because if you don't let her love the truth of who you are, then one day you will lose her. Not because she walked away, but because you never gave her anyone to stay for.